back to another episode of Screen Tested. I'm your host Tyrant, and today we are back with another ranking episode. So we have a lot of stuff to catch up on. Now, the first thing I should mention is if you're new to the channel here, I have done essentially a full episode on every single one of these items. I've also done previous rankings before, so if you're curious about any particular one of the things that we're going to be talking about today, just go look up the full episode and you'll get like the full context, the full everything like that. Second of all, I should mention that I have added 2 additional tiers and I've moved things kind of slightly up or down or whatever it may be, just so we have more room and we can be a little bit more granular when we talk about our ranking and our ratings of these individual weapons. So, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, we have a lot of items here. So let's start off with something simple and easy. Why don't we start with Saruman's staff? Oh, I really enjoyed this episode. Now, the context is obviously it is from Lord of the Rings. It's the interpretation from the films. It's a fantastic, not only magical staff, that is what its base function is, but it's just a good kind of item that you would want. And it's functional, you know, it's a large staff. So obviously you have things like additional reach. It's essentially a flanged mace, right? A really, really good force concentrator. There's also additional things like, you know, you can thrust with it, you can hit with it, it's on a big lever, you can even like light the center jewel on fire so it can become a torch to light your way. It's just a great kind of mishmash between something that if you were a wizard and you wanted a weapon, it's actually kind of a good design for a staff, just generally speaking. So I would definitely put this somewhere, I want to say maybe in A tier. It's a fantastic all-round type of weapon, and the reason why I don't think I'd put it in S tier is because it's not really a dedicated weapon. It's one of those ones that has a lot of tangential benefits that are really awesome, but it's not really intended for any of those things, so it's not really refined for them, is the way I'd describe it. So I think A tier is fantastic. Like, it's an awesome thing, just generally speaking. Love it. Next up, let's go with, why don't we go with the Bident, or Varatha. This is an interesting one. I really like it. I'm going to put this in A tier as well. The reason why is because obviously it's a polearm, you know, you have a lot of reach with it. You also have 2, you know, tines or pitchforks, whatever they're called, right? The only problem is that it does share that surface area a little bit, which means that it's not as deadly in the thrust because you have 2 points, obviously, very similar to the Wolverine effect, if we want to call it that way, bed of nails effect, whatever. But it's still a very, very lethal and vicious polearm. It's just a little bit less deadly. And now, I probably would have put it in S tier, but there is something, obviously, that we'll get to in a little bit that I think is just a little bit more efficient and a little bit better. So I think A tier for the Bident, for Varatha, you know, Hades Tine, perfectly acceptable. It's an awesome weapon. It's just not as refined as something like, you know, like a Spirit Halberd. You really should consider subscribing. Here on the channel we do a whole bunch of cool shit, specifically like this, a fire sword. So if you like this sort of content, you should stick around. Next up, let's go with Captain Hook's hook. This is interesting because I think it is a perfectly valid, you know, prosthetic, right? That's what it is, you know. I think it's not only a useful prosthetic, I also think it has somewhat, some additional features, you know, like maybe as a parrying mechanic, that sort of stuff. And then if you put it into the context of somebody on a pirate ship who needs to grab onto a whole bunch of, you know, rails and scaffolding and ropes, it's not terrible. So I would definitely probably put this around the B tier. The reason why, as a weapon, it's not super effective, but as an additional thing, as you know, it does have some capabilities of being a weapon, but more primarily as a prosthetic, I think it strikes a good balance. So I think B tier for this is perfectly fine, right? Especially as that kind of offhand, literally, type weapon that also has kind of an extension to protect the arm a little bit. I dig it. I like it. Next up, let's go with Twin Blade. Oh, all right, Darksouls. I'm sure there's a bunch of other things that are not coming to my mind at the moment, but obviously a twin blade, double-bladed sword, very popular concept. I can't really give it anything higher than, I'm honestly in the C tier for it. And the reason why is because you don't really have that much reach with it. It's a rather large weapon. It's like the size of a polearm, but because of how you have to hold it and wield it, it means that extending your reach is pretty much just the same as a regular sword. Whatever the length of that particular sword is what your reach is. So you're not really gaining much. You're actually kind of being a little bit hamstrung because of you have two large blades. Now the reason why it's not like a regular staff is because you have, you know, sharp blades on each end, so extending out your reach and moving your hands further down to be able to, you know, use your reach to a greater effect, or, you know, transitioning from one side to the other side of the body, it's just really hard to do with two particular blades. So it honestly is kind of, it's not the best. That doesn't mean it's not an effective weapon. It doesn't mean you couldn't use it effectively. It just means that for what it is, the amount of materials you have, you know, the manufacturing costs, the travel costs, when you factor in the entire context around it, it's just not that good. There's so many other weapons that are more effective at a much more, not only cost-effective way, but also material-effective way. So the twin blade really is kind of a C tier weapon. Next up, we have Sephiroth's Masamune, a giant Nodachi or Odachi from the Final Fantasy franchise, basically a big giant katana. I mean, let's be real here. It's kind of an S tier weapon. It's a real weapon, Nodachi and Odachi. It's a large sword. You know, maybe I could bring it down a touch because it has a single edge, and obviously I'd prefer, you know, the double edge to be a bit more versatile. But the truth is, you still have that large amount of reach. You know, it doesn't weigh that much, and it's an effective weapon. You know, you can cut with it. It's pretty good. So I think Masamune is perfectly fine. And we're going for, like, you know, obviously the more realistic interpretation of Masamune. I think S tier. I think that's perfectly fine. I'm happy with that. Realistic, giant, large swords, they're kind of S-tier weapons. All right, next up, let's go with, what have we got? Panther Claws. Black Panther, Marvel franchise. Even, you know, the X-Men that also has the claws. So it's a, you know, a fun fantasy trope, I would say. These are an S-tier weapon. Like, they just are. Now, you're probably wondering, well, how the hell is, you know, gloves with sharp fingers an S-tier weapon? You gotta remember, it's like, they're not a main weapon. You don't use them as your main, you don't go into battle. I know Black Panther does, but generally speaking, these are a type of weapon that would be an additional armament to everything else. So you have your sword, your shield, whatever else you have. And then this is like kind of like a last ditch attempt of what you have. And having some sharpened points, it does remove a little bit of dexterity, but having regular gloves or gauntlets on does that anyway. So you're providing a little bit extra functionality to something without losing too much. And I'm a big fan of that. So I think they are definitely S tier. Obviously, we're talking more realistic, you know, Panther Claws, but generally speaking, I think as an additional item that doesn't really impact too much, they're really cool, and they have somewhat of a utility in that you can actually use them offensively. Obviously, again, not a main weapon. The Master Sword is a C tier sword. There's a lot of design on it that just isn't really necessary, that bulks it out for no real benefit. But that doesn't mean it's not a functional blade. You still can use it as a realistic sword. We had the battle ready version, right? The thing is, there's just a lot of design on it that is redundant, adds extra material, extra weight that isn't really as refined as it needs to be, especially if we compare this to like Glamdring, right? We're gonna get to Glamdring in a minute. Like, when you compare these two fantasy swords, it's like one is an absolutely incredible, refined, wicked blade, where one is just overbuilt, chunky, not really necessary, and there could be just more some fixes on the design. So obviously the Master Sword, you know, from Zelda, functional, relatively speaking, especially if you make it in the right way. There's just a lot of design there that I think could be better. If you are enjoying today's episode, and I genuinely hope that you are, perhaps you would consider supporting the channel on Patreon. It's really important to help me able to do these sorts of projects because it's kind of expensive buying all the materials and stuff. So if you want to support, there'll be a link down below. I would genuinely appreciate it because it's what allows me to do this cool stuff. All right, let's get back to the episode. Next up, we have the Thunder Hammer, or a fixed Thor's hammer, you know, with a proper length handle, essentially. It's a big hammer, a big maul, right? Oof. Now, this fixed all my gripes about Thor's hammer, right? Because obviously we had Thor's hammer, a small hammer. That was kind of the problem with it. This one, we do have a lot more leverage on it. We have a lot more length on it, you know, a maul, right? So we're able to put a lot more force into it, and it's able to obliterate things while still maintaining a reasonable amount of speed and dexterity, because obviously the way it was constructed, you know, with aluminum and titanium kind of combining them, means that you had a large hammer that can deliver a lot of force without being super heavy. Like, this is still a rather, relatively speaking, refined hammer. So I think A tier is fine for it. It's a big bonkster, and that's why I moved down, obviously, Thor's hammer, because it's just a lot shorter, it's a lot stubbier, so you can't put in as much force. I mean, hell, I'd even put it in C tier at this point, because we've obviously got the fixed version. Next up, let's go with Doom Shield. Oh man, such a fun episode, obviously, from the new Doom game. The Saw Shield, absolutely dangerous thing. The truth is, right, now look, we have Captain America's shield in A tier, and it is an A tier weapon. It's a real shield, right? There's nothing really too special or unique about Captain America's shield. It's a shield, it functions like a shield, it's a defensive item, so it's pretty high up there. There's just a couple of things with his shield where it's like, if I was to take this into battle, I'd want to fix a couple of things. Like, there's no padding on it, there's no shock absorption in the slightest, so that's why it's not in S tier, right? But the Doom Shield is a little bit different. It's still a shield, but it's absurdly heavy, but it still has some defensive items, but it's still very dangerous because it is. I think I'm going to put the Doom Shield in D tier, specifically if, like, because there's context, right? It depends if it has a moving blade on it. If it has a moving blade on it, I'll put it in the F tier. It's going in the fail tier. But for the one that I designed and I tested, where it has, you know, kind of the blades on it, the spikes if we want it, I think D tier is fine. It's very heavy. It's just not one of those things you would want to go into a prolonged battle with, and there is some danger posed to you because it's on 360 degrees, you know, moving that shield around. There's going to be points where opponent could, you know, hit the shield into you, which isn't ideal. So I think D tier for the Doom Shield is probably where I'd put it. All right, next up, let's go with the High Elven Warrior Sword. I have my gripes with it. I think that there's some design aspects that we could probably improve on it, but it's still a B tier weapon. Like, it's still a functional weapon, and you know, if I was presented with it on a table full of all these other things, and it's like, if you gave that to me and I had to go fight with it, I wouldn't be that worried about it. You know, if you gave me the bloody whip sword, different matter entirely, but if you give me the High Elven blade, I'd be like, yeah, all right, we can do this. I can make it work. I can fix it. So I think the High Elven Warrior Sword is B tier. I think that's fine. It's perfectly acceptable. All right, next up, we're getting into some of the harder ones, the more tricky ones. First and foremost, let's go with the trident. This is both from mythology and from fantasy. You know, there's plenty of different movies and franchises, mythology, all that stuff using a trident as the main weapon, usually by Poseidon or King Trident. You know, there's a bunch. I loved the trident, S tier all the way, specifically when you design the trident in a way where the central spike is longer than the other two. That means that it makes contact first. This I'm a really big fan of. I like this kind of design, the way of doing it that way. It's good at throwing, it's good at thrusting. It is a really cool kind of polearm. Now, is it better than a regular spear? I mean, there's pros and cons. Relatively speaking, not really. Is it better than something like a halberd? No, but it's still really, really good, especially as far as, you know, like fantasy weapons goes. The trident is actually pretty good. I'm into it. Okay, next up, a couple more left. Titan's Bane. Now, Titan's Bane is obviously my custom design of my giant sword. Now, I'm not going to be biased here. I think it has to be A tier, and the reason why it has to be A tier is because the Guts Berserk Giant Sword is B tier, and Titan's Bane was an improvement in literally every single category from when we made the Berserk Giant Sword. It was just an improvement. Now, if you're a Berserk fan and you're watching this and you go, what's going on? I don't understand. Check out the episodes. There's full episodes going into all the nitty gritty of these things, and to give you a quick rundown, the Guts Giant Berserk Sword, we made a realistic one that you could actually use. The problem was it was just too unwieldy, too unbalanced, even with you know, using some experimental types of materials in that sort of way. It just, like, B tier is kind of the best we could get with it. Then I did Titan's Bane. I redesigned it and fixed the design, in my opinion, and tried to make it better, essentially. And when we tested it, it was pretty good. Like, if you really want my honest opinion here, I would put the Berserk Sword in C tier, and I would put Titan's Bane in B tier. Like, that's kind of how I would structure these sorts of things, because obviously we've got a couple more tiers here now, so we can actually move things around a little bit more. I think that's probably where I would put those specific things, specifically because Titan's Bane does serve a purpose now. It is an anti-armor type sword. It has so much force and mass behind it, and it's able to be moved relatively quickly, so it can be used offensively, and it does serve a purpose. It's an anti-armor giant sword. That's kind of where I'd put it. All right, next up we have the Batleth from the Star Trek franchise, used by the Klingons. A fascinating, I like it. I think it's a cool weapon. I think not only is the design really cool, but there's a lot more here than you might first assume. We've done 2 episodes on the Batleth at this point. We did one where, one that was full size, and then we kind of fixed the design, used a different material. We got it lighter and a little bit smaller. So which ranking are we going to go with, right? I think it doesn't really matter which one we go with, because the fundamentals of both of them are still there. They still can be both used in the same sort of way. So even if we be as charitable as possible, I think the Batleth is genuinely kind of a B tier weapon. There are other weapons that there are a lot of other weapons that I would pick over it, but that doesn't mean it's useless. A lot of people kind of, get into this groove where it's like, all right, well, the Batleth is just completely trash and I'll never use it. It's like, no. Is it the best weapon? No. Are there more efficient and effective weapons that use less material and are easier to use and all these other things? Yes, but that doesn't mean that you can't use the Batleth. It's more so one of those things, if you have the skill and the know-how, you can make it work. It just becomes more of a conversation of, is it worth the effort and having to master different techniques from different things, because it's one of those things where you're going to have to learn how to use your range and your distance, but also be a proficient up close and personal with grappling and that sort of stuff. So it becomes one of those things where it's a very difficult thing, and I don't think it can justify how difficult it is to use. 2 more. All right. Toji's Heavenly Inverted Spear. Toji's Heavenly Inverted Spear? No. Toji's Inverted Spear of Heaven. I think that's the correct name. It's a complicated weapon. Because as a dagger, it's perfectly fine, right? Like, I like it. But as a rope dart, it's kind of super dangerous. Now, obviously, it's from the Jujutsu Kaisen series. I think I could put this in A tier. I reckon I could. And the reason why is because you don't have to use it like a rope dart. You don't have to. Now, rope darts are a really complex kind of weapon, not only to use, but to master, to fight against. It's a really complicated subject, and I'm not going to go into it in this particular episode because it would take too long. But essentially, with Toji's Inverted Spear of Heaven, you can use it as just a regular dagger, and as a regular dagger, like a parrying dagger, offhand dagger, it's great. Nothing wrong with it. I'm super into it. There's a couple of small little design things that I'd probably change, namely the round handle and the Suba, etc., etc. But when you use it as a rope dart, super dangerous, not recommended, but you can do it. And rope darts in general can be an interesting weapon. So I think A tier for this, at least at this point, right? I haven't really had anything that would change my mind on it. I think A tier is fine, maybe even B tier. But the thing is, if we just take it as a dagger, A tier is fine. Yeah, it's parrying dagger. Cool. All right, and last but not least, Glamdring from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I think you guys know where this is. It got a perfect score, 40 out of 40. So it is an S tier weapon. It's a fantastic, absolutely fantastic fantasy sword that is completely functional, completely usable, and completely viable. So this is the rating as it currently stands. I'm really happy with it. I think, man, I look at this and I go, we've done a lot of stuff. We've done a lot of stuff. If you guys want to know the truth, I actually recorded this full episode like 2 months ago, and I just never got around to releasing it. And since then, we've done so much extra stuff. I was like, it's out of date now. I got to re-record the full thing because we've just done so much more. So yeah, that's going to be all. Thank you guys for watching. I genuinely hope you enjoyed. Let me know your ranking and your thoughts on these individual items. If you're new around here, I highly recommend checking out a lot of these individual episodes because there's a lot more in-depth stuff there. You know, you're going to learn more about the weapon itself, how it's used, etc., etc. We're going to test it in different ways, mediums, all that sort of stuff. And if you are a regular viewer, thank you, obviously. Let me know what you guys think, because most of you who are regular viewers have seen a lot of these things, so you know all the context already. So I'm curious to hear your opinions, of course. But that's going to be all for now. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, I'll see you next week in another episode. Have a good one.